According to the Marine Corps Times, November 28, 2011, since 9/11, over 2 million soldiers have been sent overseas. When these soldiers are sent overseas, they're not only leaving behind their country, but also loved ones at home. In the field of communication, it has been highly studied. It's a major form of research done is communication in long-distance relationships. However, the research found among military relationships for soldiers who are serving overseas, the research is very limited, if not non-existent. Through my research of 15 articles, I have decided to ask the question, how does the deployment of a military family member overseas affect communication with those who remain at home on a military base? My name is Shirley O'Nan, and I conducted this research for my Communication 3000 course called Communication Research Methods. It's a capstone course at my school for students who are studying communication courses. The reason why I decided to take on this form of research was for a personal reason. When I was 5 years old, my mother was sent overseas to South Korea. And when I was 11, my father was sent over to Afghanistan a month after 9/11. Because of these two reasons, I wanted to explore how soldiers and children are affected by communication, are affected by their parents being sent overseas. We'll explore this through three points today. First, through how marriage is affected, how parenting is affected, and how the service member themselves are affected by the lack of communication between themselves and the loved ones. First, we'll explore through how marriage is affected by communication, the lack of communication. First, we'll explore through how wives in particular feel, how relational maintenance needs to be maintained, and how there could be improvements on the research already conducted. First, we'll explore through how wives feel when their husbands are sent overseas. Through the research I conducted, the main people that were found in the studies were Army wives, because those are the ones who are most found within the military, how military families are composed. Mainly it's a woman who stays at home while a active duty husband serves overseas. The women who were found in the studies, such as Salenstein's Communication Monographs 2009 study, the women felt uncertainty and stress when their husbands were sent overseas. They were unsure of when their husbands would be able to communicate with them, and they were unsure if their husbands would be able to return home. This made their relationship difficult, and made it harder to communicate necessary information, such as what's happening back home in America, to their husbands. Next, we'll explore through how relational maintenance is important for women to maintain with their husbands who are sent overseas. By maintaining a good relationship with their husbands, communication is more easier to disclose to one another. However, when stress increases, women find that they buffer their communication responses to their husbands. If their husband asks them how was their day, women typically say, "It's great, it's going fine, how's it going over there in Afghanistan?" And they want to know more information about their husbands. They usually would buffer any stress or any sort of gossip or problems that they have at home with their husbands, because they don't want to give their husbands stress and cause them to feel concerned about their wives who are still at home on a military base. This form of buffering was found in the research by Joseph and Affey in the Journal of Applied Communication Research 2010. Researchers found with the buffering, if the wives' stress levels reduce, then they'd be more willing to disclose community actions that are happening in the community and at home with their families. However, if stress increases, the women are more likely to buffer their answers to their husbands and thus create a strain in their marriage. The improvements that could be done for this form of research is that more military husbands whose wives are active duty and sent overseas, if more research is done for those husbands who remain at home, then there would be more of a balance between wives and husbands' communication stress from one member staying at home and the service member serving overseas. Second, we explore through how parenting is affected by the deployment of a service member. A majority of military personnel are parents of one or more children. And there are 3 areas that we can explore through parenting. First, they need to be a parent figure. There are programs that have been conducted for children and how the research could be improved. First, we'll explore through how the parents feel the need to be a parenting figure, whether they're at home or overseas. When parents are sent overseas, the need to want to console their children, want to know what's going on in their schooling, how they're doing in their classes, and how they're doing in terms of maintaining relationships with their own friends is a necessary component in wanting to be a good father or mother. Parents find that it is harder to explain to children moral lessons that they need to learn when their parents are overseas. Parents find it a necessary component to be able to explain to children how they should act in school and how they can improve their grades. However, this communication is strained because the parent is overseas. Second, we explore through how programs have helped children be able to disclose their feelings. Through Lester's study in Military Medicine 2011, the study Families Overcoming Under Stress was conducted to help children cope and talk about their feelings with peers that also have parents serving overseas. Because children were able to find a buddy to be able to discuss and disclose their feelings, they were able to better behave at home for their mother or father and be able to do better in their classes. Second, we can explore the other program, Passport Towards Success, found in Family Relations, Hoover 2007. In this study, children were given a passport and were told to go around to different countries in a building. They were just set up little boards that talked about China or talked about Germany or Afghanistan. And while they were there, children got a stamp and had to answer a question about how they feel about their parents being overseas. The children found that this technique of being able to go around to different countries just as their parents do helped them be able to disclose their feelings and be able to behave better at home and in the classroom. So through this research, the limitations were found that only children from ages 8 to 11 were researched. If children who were in high school age and also in college were also studied, then it would further the research of how children are affected by their parents serving overseas. Speaking of how the parent serves overseas, we can focus on how the service member individually feels when they're serving overseas. We can explore this through 3 key areas. First, through how the relationship is strained due to PTSD, how the willingness to not discuss affects the relationship, and how this research can be improved. The research found in Allen's Journal of Family Psychology 2010 that post-traumatic stress disorder caused the service member to not disclose any information to their family members because they did not want to give their family members stress while they were serving overseas. They found that if they were just to tell their family member, oh, everything's going fine here in Afghanistan, or we helped help people move out of their home today and find a safer location, would be better than telling them how they had just saw a shooting or a bombing happen. If they were to disclose that information, it would not only bring back memories and cause their post-traumatic stress disorder to increase, but also cause stress in the home. This also connects with how they have soldiers have a lack of willingness to discuss, because it would remind them of what had happened overseas, and also because they did not want to disclose that information to their loved ones. This research could be improved by studying how soldiers who are serving overseas in different locations affected different communication. So returning to our research question today, how does the deployment of a military family member overseas affect communication with those who remain at home on a military base? Our answer is, it affects their communication in many ways. However, the research done has only just scratched the surface. For those affected by deployment, they will only truly know how they feel.